Subscribe Mary's Kayak Fishing.
Alright, what's going on, guys? So, this is a vlog, just me talking to myself. I'm getting ready to go out here and chase after some bluegill. I haven't been bluegill fishing in forever, so I'm going to use my drop shot rig that I grew up on. That has a little bit of change to it, but check out my video on how I tie my drop shot. Right now we're using true turn hooks and just some red wigglers that I had left in the refrigerator. But what's really going to be interesting is this is a new place. I've never been here before, and I'm going to try to channel my energy into catching the bluegill, and then I'm going to try to catch a trophy catfish. I think there's some nice channel catfish in here, maybe blue catfish, but I know on the very far end or the latter distant half of the lake, the water gets to be right around like 45 to 55 feet deep. And so I'm thinking that maybe it's going to house some nice catfish. I'm looking for a trophy channel that's going to exceed 30 or 32 inches. So we're going to see and see what's out there. But what I'm going to do is, instead of using a Carolina rig with a circle hook, I'm actually going to use some swivel heads on a 1/2 ounce to 1 ounce with some mustad hooks. And I'm just going to use the bluegill that I catch to chop up and then slide those on there and just have them kind of nestled to the port and starboard side of my kayak. So let's see what happens. Alright, so basically we're out here. I just got to the spot. I wanted to stop and do a little bit of jig fishing just to see if the bass were out and about, but they're really not. There's been a huge transition in this lake right now. But what I'm using here is a Cadence CR7. It's a medium, light, moderate, fast, okay, 7-foot rod. This is for bluegill fishing. A medium, light, moderate, fast. Very awesome rod, super slicks, okay. And I'm also using a PC Fun Carbon X 1000 series. So what do we have at the end of the line? We have, I think, 12-pound Berkeley X5 to a fluoro, trilene fluoro leader 6-pound test with the true turn number 7 hook tied with a improved clinch, and then you take the tag end and you run it back through the eye so that it sits to the side. Okay, so you have a little bit better hookup ratio in that regard. Alright, 18 inches to a 1/4 ounce is a staple. It's a staple to use a 1/4 ounce. I've always used a 1/4 ounce. I grew up being taught to throw a 1/4 ounce. Okay, it just works. So what you want to do here, I didn't bring the depth finder out, but I do know that right here I'm at the confluence of 2 creeks. Alright? This creek right here is in front of me, is not flowing right now, but it gets a lot of drainage and a runoff. This is directly related to a creek. Alright, so we're getting an influx of water from treatment plants and the basically metropolitan portion of the town. This is the lakeside, so basically I'm at the confluence. Naturally, a catfish or a large predator should be in this area. Now in front of me is a gas line, and right here where I'm sitting is about 14 to 15 foot of water, and there's a hump literally right here somewhere. And I want to see if there's some big bluegill or pods of bluegill sitting on this hump. Once I catch them, I'm going to take a couple of them and dip them down, cut up on probably a 1/2 to a 1 ounce swing head with a mustad hook. And we're just going to dangle them down there about 2 foot off the bottom and wait until something grabs them into the evening. While we wait, we'll probably just bluegill fish. So what I've noticed after making a few casts, that the fish are really tucked inside the cover. They really like the shade, and they really like those steeper banks, those rocky banks, and they're not really on the silt bottom right now. I did fish around, and I haven't been getting any bites. Usually if you're in the fish, you'll know within the first 3 casts or so, 3 to 4 casts, if they're not biting, when you're bluegill fishing, usually you just want to relocate and find the shade. Right now it's about 1400 in the afternoon, 2 o'clock, and I'm fishing right now on the main channel, but I'm on a flat that's only about 12 foot deep, and a lot of it is silt bottom. It's silt mixed with some clay, and I haven't gotten any bites in open water yet, but I'm getting ready to go to the shade right now, and hopefully we can make something materialize. I'm going to try this bridge pile. Alright, so basically I settled in on a drop off, a steep drop off is where we're fishing here, with plenty of shade and some tree canopies. I mean, it's just a classic little hiding place for bluegill. And you know, I'm dropping it in like this, just kind of plopping it in there and just kind of holding it tight. And I'm getting some hits, so. There we go. That's a good fish. That's a real good fish. Oh, that's a good fish, guys. That's a good bluegill. Wow. It's a good one. So there you go. This one's a little bit big to cut up. We don't want to cut that up because that's a reddier. So that's a good fish. So we don't want to cut that up. Okay, we don't want to cut that up, but that's still a good fish. And what a blast. What a blast. Okay, beautiful reddier right there. Also called a shellcracker. But it's always good to let those go, you know. So always good to let those go. And you notice the purpose of threading that worm on there is that when I thread that worm on there like that, it just stays on there. So now I could use the worm multiple times, and I don't have to keep rebaiting the hook. Alright, so now I'm going to show you guys what happens when you get dialed in on the school. So right now I'm dialed in on the school. They seem to be like right here in this little pocket. And it's almost like a transition between deep water. It's almost like a small ledge. But there's a bunch of them here. They're all about this size. Okay. But there's a school of them right there. Okay. So these fish, when they hit it, got them. You just gotta feel it, you know, and they'll nip it, and it takes practice to get good at this particular technique. But when you get good at it, you're really good at it. And this is a small fish, but you could see here he did exactly what he was supposed to do with biting it and easily hooking himself. Now the nature of this rig, by its nature and configuration, when this is sitting on the bottom, okay, and you're dragging it, or you're just kind of working it with the rod tip, all right, say it's sitting on the bottom and like this, and you're working the rod tip, what that weight is doing is that weight is creating a silt plume around the weight. And what that does is that kind of kicks up the bottom, and the fish will kind of gravitate towards that because they like to eat the things that are coming out of the mess that you're making. So they kind of come and they gravitate towards that naturally. But above it you have your little hook, and you could technically, I could put another hook right here, okay? technically. I could do a tandem rig and put 2 if I'm catching bait for catfishing. Right now I'm just kind of fun fishing still, but if I'm catfishing trying to get bait, just like a sabiki rig in saltwater that has upwards of 8 hooks to 10 hooks, I could take, depending on rules and regulations of the state, I could take and put 4 or 5 small true turn hooks on here and be pulling up multiple bluegill at one time to use as catfish bait. Flatheads love bluegill, especially live bluegill. So I'm just dropping it right here underneath this tree in the same spot, and I'm getting hit in the same spot by a bunch of fish. They all seem to be about the same size. So this is how it could be, man. I mean, and once you get good at the drop shot with this technique, once you get really good at that technique with the drop shot on bluegill, it's just hard to beat it. And beautiful fish. I mean, this fish has beautiful chest on him, beautiful red burgundy chest on this fish. Look at that. Beautiful. I haven't seen one like that in a long time. So I just learned that right now up in Huntsville there's actually a father and a daughter farming bluegill in their private pond, and they're I can feel them biting, but I think I need to change. I think I need to put a new worm on because this one's been used so much. Usually when they get used a lot and you catch about, I don't know, 7 or 8 fish on one, it gets worn down that the juices and the excrements and stuff of the worm, they just get leached out of the worm itself, and the fish aren't attracted to it as much. There's a good fish. So what you do is, if you got to get under something, it's called sling shotting. So you take this like this, and you just, and then let it go. That's how you get under things like boat slips or docks, stuff like that. It's a good way to try. I'm getting hits already. Not too big. Good fish though. And just Guys, I got a big one. Guys, I got a really big one. Look at this beautiful shellcracker. Oh man, what a stud. Guys, what a stud. What a stud. Oh man, that's like a 3/4 pounder right there. That's a 3/4. That's a triple stack, boys and girls. Look at that one. What a beautiful fish. Beautiful fish. Oh, there's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, look at the beautiful colors on this one. Man, that's awesome. Beautiful colors on that fish. Oh, and he just took it right there off the point. I think there's a small school on the point right here. There we go. Small, but it's a fish. There's definitely more than one there on that point. There's gotta be a good shellcracker in here. Big one. He's on. Ah, oh man. It's a good fish. He swallowed it, man. Oh man, look at the colors on these fish. So beautiful. Pumpkin. Got pumpkin color right here in October with the pumpkins and Halloween. Beautiful. Alright, so we were able to get on a little bit of fish action. I mean, we did some bluegill damage, but the objective is to just kind of figure out where some of these bluegill are so that we can catfish. Well, I put out some catfish lines around one of these deep areas here, kind of mid-lake section. Didn't do too hot. Didn't even get any bites. But I ended up catching a catfish, ironically, on a drop shot with a little red wiggler, but I didn't catch any fish on my drifting bluegill. One was alive and then I had one trapped. So that tells me this particular area wasn't productive. I do see a lot more smaller catfish than larger catfish, so I'm thinking that the larger catfish are probably down lake. I have a change in heart with determining if there's going to be trophy catfish here. I think they are here, but I don't think they're here in the numbers that I think they're in, because you have a bunch of locals who have footpaths that can gain access to any part of this lake. Usually when that's the case, they keep a lot of catfish, so it's like the possibility of the offspring growing to be very large is a dismal chance. So I'm thinking that this place is going to have probably a handful of nice trophy fish, but not in the numbers that you could spend perhaps a season and catch perhaps maybe two. You know, this is not like a place like in Suffolk, Virginia, or this isn't the James River, right, in Virginia and the Chesapeake Bay. With that being said, I'm going to try to throw a jerk a little bit up here and then we're gonna head in and do some more bluegill fishing on another day. And I don't think I'm gonna come back here for catfish. And I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to Bankhead or Holt, where we have 120-pound catfish caught. So that concludes today, except I am gonna fish a little bit right here on this flat, see if I can't pull some up with a jerkbait. And then we're gonna head on in. And then we're gonna fish again on another time, another date. So stay tight, stay safe.